All righty, here we go. It is a brand new Flyers Daily for January 9th, 2025. Flyers Daily, per usual, brought to you by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. Grateful to be here. Sorry I missed yesterday after the Toronto Maple Leaf game. A lot of fatigue right now for me, and I'm trying to find energy and trying to put the right things in my body to give me energy as I continue on with this battle that I've got in front of me, which I'm ready to win. So I appreciate everybody there's so many kind notes. It's kind of restored my faith in humanity in a lot of ways, even on social media. Um, just know that so many of the notes that I've gotten have given me so much strength. It's been so humbling, and I thank everybody so much for all the notes that they've sent and continue to send. And it means a ton to me. It means a ton to my family. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. All right, let's get to the business at hand. We're here for hockey. Let's talk about hockey. Let's talk about the Flyers and the Dallas Stars. That's who's up tonight. Dallas, really good team that I believe absolutely is a legitimate cup contender. They're in that upper crust, that crust of 7 or 8 teams in the NHL, which not just playoff teams, but I feel like has a legit chance. And it's not just because of their record, it's because of how they're built. So that's the opponent tonight for the Flyers. And while they're not sitting at the top of their division right now, they're in a good division. I mean, come on, this central division in the Western Conference is gangbusters. Winnipeg leading that division with the best record in hockey. Minnesota Wild with a great season so far, sitting in the second spot, 5 points ahead of the combatant tonight. That's the Dallas Stars. Stars have played 39 games, so they got a couple games in hand on Minnesota, who's played 41. 25-13-1 is their record. They're good at home, 16-5-1. Only a game above Hockey 500, however, on the road at 9-8. They're plus 29 in goal differential, and they're hot right now. They're coming in 7-3-1 in their last 10, and they've won their last 5 games. Who did they beat in those 5 games? We go, well, we can maybe go, well, they beat some really bad teams or they beat some good teams. Well, they beat Chicago, really bad team, worst record in the NHL, 5-1. They beat Buffalo at home in Dallas, 4-2. Buffalo not doing so hot, although been a little better of late. Ottawa, they beat 4-2. Ottawa's been pretty good lately. They beat Utah 3-2 in overtime. And the first game of their road trip, they beat the New York Rangers 5-4 in overtime. So not necessarily a juggernaut, one of those gauntlets in the schedule, but they've taken care of business, and they've won 6 out of their last 7 as well. So this is a really good team, built very properly. Tonight's game 2 of what looks like a 5-game road trip for Dallas. Flyers come into this game tonight. Frankly, they just need a win. They need to find a way to get 2 points. Remember, they played Dallas last year, and it was the 5th win of 5 in a row for the Flyers, which I believe was a season high. And they beat them 5-1. It was the night that Owen Tippett scored that fantastic goal of the year nomination, spin around backhand bar down on Jake Ottinger. They won that game 5-1. Probably the signature win of last year. Flyers come in 41 games played, 17-19-5. They're exactly at the midway point of the season, 39 points. They're sitting 3 points back of the Pens with a game in hand, 3 points back of Columbus with the same amount of games played. So this battle in the wild card in the Eastern Conference is pretty tight. Flyers are minus 22 in goal differential, and at home 8-10-1, a couple of games under Hockey 500. And they've lost now 3 straight games, albeit one of them against Toronto in overtime. So a tough opponent again tonight for the Flyers. There's not a lot of let up facing the Dallas Stars, who come in with, of all people, Matt Duchene leading them in points. Not even a point per game player, 38 points in 39 games. Jason Robertson having a decent year, 10 goals, 22 assists, 32 points in 39 games. Wyatt Johnston's got 29 points, really spread out here. A team that's got a lot of balance. Jamie Benn, the Sage veteran, 28 points so far this season. Mason Marchment's got 27. Rupe Hintz has got 25. And really, their best player is the guy that really is kind of judged on how many points he puts up. That's Miro Heiskanen. In 39 games, 4 goals, 14 assists, 18 points. But an absolute stalwart defender. Great player. And he is getting it done once again. We'll see if he gets Norris consideration. They tend to give the Norris Trophy to guys that pile up points from the blue line. boy, is he deserving as any other guy. Jake Ottinger, we'll see if we see Ottinger tonight. 20 wins, 9 and 1 on the season at 908 save percentage. If you get Casey DeSmith, he's having a good year too. Got a record of 5-4 in 11 games, but his save percentage is 911. So he's been getting it done. We'll see if the Flyers go back to Alexei Kolosov tonight. I don't know if Ayerson's going to be ready. I don't think he'll be ready tonight. I think he's getting close. But do they go back to Kolosov tonight after back-to-back games with Fedotov? I thought Fedotov played pretty well in both games against Toronto. There was a goal in each game that I didn't like. I didn't like the Tavares goal in the game on Tuesday night. Just thought for a big guy his size on a pretty sharp angle, he just showed way too much net. If he wasn't flat along the goal line and he was turned in square, I don't think there would have been that much net to look at. When I watched the one replay from behind Tavares, I was stunned on that angle, how much net he could see on the long side. And that's because Fedotov was flat to the goal line. If he turns, he makes himself wider. He makes himself bigger. He doesn't show as much net. And maybe it's an easy save that almost just hits you. But when you get flat, it's like taking a flounder, looking at it when it's laying down, it's way wider. When you look at it the side, it's much thinner. So I didn't think I'd have a flounder reference in this episode, but we do. So Flyers and the Stars tonight. I've seen some stuff on social media kind of talking about the Stars and how they've been such a good team at drafting. Well, if you really look back at the Stars drafting, they've had a couple of decent years, pretty good years. Obviously, 2017 was a good one where they got Miro Heiskanen, dropped to number 3 because the Flyers took Nolan Patrick, and he's played 464 games from them and been great. And they got Ottinger that year as well in the first round. Coming out of BU, Jason Robertson, they get in that year in the second round, 39th overall. He's got 346 points in 331 games, a home run draft year for them. The year prior, 2016, not so much. Their number 1 first-round pick at 25th overall played 21 NHL games. Their third-round pick has played 8 games. It just wasn't a good draft for them. Rhett Gardner played on that team, in that draft, 41 games. You look back to 2015, they took Gurrianov, who we saw last year as a Flyer. 12th overall, played 298 games, not bad. Rupe Hintz, who they took at 49th overall in the second round, played 430 games, so decent draft. Nobody else from that draft made it in the NHL. In 2014, their first-round pick played 87 games. Not another guy even got to the league. You look at 2013, pretty decent draft. Val Nichushkin, Jason Dickinson, and they took Nick Paul in that draft. Roddick Foxy the year before in the first round at 13th overall, and Devin Shore. So, and Nessa Lindell, pretty good draft, but it's kind of back and forth. It hasn't been consistency in drafting, but when you hit a draft like they do in 2017, it really puts you in a good spot. That's what the teams look to do. And they're an interesting team as well because they're not a team that really ever bottomed out. You look back, the last really bad season they had, really bad. If you look back at their record, was 1995-96. 82 games, they had 66 points. The next year, they went up to a 104-point team. 104, 109, 114, 102, 106, and a cup win in there in 99. And they dropped to 90, and then they went back to 111, 97, 112, 107, 97. 2008, they had 83 points. But this is a team that's always been in the mix. They have never tore it down. You may look at their record and go, well, in 2020-21, they only had 60 points. Well, that was in 56 games. So they've been an astounding team, been able to show a lot of longevity and being able to turn it over and having guys like Jamie Benn be there to bring in the next segment of players, Modano to the next group and those kind of things. They trade for Sagan, and it hasn't been all through the draft for them. They've made savvy trades and free agent signings. So you look at Dallas, that's a team I look at and I go, I like the way they're built. I think they can compete for the long term. And I think they're a team that is going to get a cup with this core. Now, it's hard to win a cup in today's league. It's a lot different in a salary cap era. But to me, they're one of those teams. Like I look at Carolina, and I love the way they're built. But do they have enough to get over the top? They haven't yet. I looked at the Rangers last year and how good they were under Peter Laviolette in year one. I said, run it back. Boy, was I an idiot for saying run it back. They're a disaster now. So it's a fleeting league, but Dallas doesn't show that. They show a lot of consistency with the way they build their teams and keep them going. Really admirable the way they do it. I mean, look at them right now. they have the second best odds or third best odds to win the Cup. The highest odds are Edmonton at plus 600. The Panthers and Hurricanes are at plus 800. And the Devils and Stars are at plus 1,000. Leafs at plus 1,100. Golden Knights at plus 1,100. And the Avalanche at plus 1,100. So they're right in that mix. Really good team. Be a good test tonight for the Flyers. See if they can get their first win on this homestand. Now, I did mention also Flyers are at the midpoint of the season. So they're 41 games in. They've got a record of 17, 19, and 5. 41 games in. What was the record last year at 41 games in? The record last year was 21, 14, and 6. That's a big, big difference. Huge difference. So last year, 17 wins, now 21. So 4 more wins last year at this point. 14 losses, they have 5 more losses, and they have 1 less overtime loss. They scored 120 goals last year through their first 41 games. They actually have more this year. They have 5 more goals, 125. But last year, they only gave up 115. They have 32 more goals allowed this season at the halfway point than they did last year. Wow. There's your difference. You want to know why they are where they are? Yeah, they've scored more, but they've given up way more. Way more. And obviously, Torts talked about this. The goaltending is a huge question mark. He doesn't feel like Erson's far away, but when he gets back, is he going to have trust in that area that he's been dealing with the injury, number one? Can he stay healthy to develop a rhythm into his season? And then the last part of it is can he stay healthy? Big question marks in regards to that right now for the Philadelphia Flyers. So we'll see where that goes. Also wanted to bring in Travis Konechny here. Last year, through 41 games, he had 37 points. He had 21 goals and 16 assists. This year, through 41 games, he has got 20 goals, 25 assists, 45 points. He's on a 90-point pace this season. 40-goal season. Tremendous. Getting the contract did not slow him down. It sped him up. Unbelievable, the year that he is having. And he, of course, had 2 the other night against Toronto. So, TK, been the MVP for this team once again, and going to be a guy that's going to need to get it done for years to come. I thought, by the way, Mishkov in the game on Tuesday against Toronto was fantastic. I thought he was I know he didn't end up with a point. I don't care. I thought maybe it was his best game of the season. The way he just pushed pace and creativity. A couple of guys didn't finish for him, sure. But geez, man, I thought he was just electric in the game. And I think that we're going to see some games where it looks like he doesn't have his energy. And then we're going to see other games like last night where we just see he's got the legs and he's just an insanely dynamic talent out there being able to kind of control the game. He ended up with 8 shots on goal, played only 14 minutes and 27 seconds. Obviously had to leave in the third when he had that collision with Scott Lawton, but I thought he was tremendous in the hockey game. Good on Matt Vey for that performance. All right, let's get to a couple of emails here. Bill emailed in, Jason.Myrtetus, Myrtetus @gmail.com. Said, hey, Jason, I heard you mention Elias Pettersson today, and I've seen another prominent Flyers newsletter mention the Flyers would make a move for him. One would assume a king's ransom will be needed for such a deal, and if that were done, wouldn't that go against what Danny and Jonesy have been saying, that they do not want to do by giving up draft capital under young players? Is Pettersson worth that pause of the rebuild strategy? Thanks again for your insight on this. No, it's not a pause. And they've been very clear all along that they're always going to be looking. And if an opportunity presents itself that can help this team in the long term, they're absolutely going to look at it. So Pettersson doesn't change anything. If he's available and they're in the conversation to try and get him, then that doesn't change. This is part of the strategy, that if you find a need, a 1C, like Elias Pettersson, and he's available, 1Cs become available very rarely. So you have to look at that to solve that need. And it doesn't change the process at all. It actually just puts a huge boost into it because now you've solved that problem. Now, what would you have to give up to get Pettersson? You're right. It's a king's ransom. You're gonna have to pay a lot, but I'm willing to pay it. If it's me, I don't know where Danny Briere sits on this or Keith Jones, but if it's me, I'm going to dig pretty deep to get it done because it solves my hardest problem that's not easily solvable by what I give up. What I mean by that, if I give up a first round pick, a top 6 winger, a D-man, or another pick and a prospect, if I have to give up all those things, I can replace those. I can't just go out and say, well, there's going to be another 1C that comes along that I can maybe get for a better price. This is rare. So you have to go to rare compensation to get it. Thanks for the email, Bill. Let's go to this one. Aubrey messages in and says, the fight is there. I see this team compete. Flyers played a great game, no stretch passes with strong defensive zone exits. And the only real negatives in this game were once again the power play and, sad to say, goaltending. They faced a hot goaltending. Wall was very good. Compact and composed. Fedotov seems slow in his movements and prone to a couple of bad goals per game. What to do? I think they need a veteran, maybe Samsonov or even Brossoit. But some Brian Elliott type of effect is needed to help these goalies. Let's go Flyers. Regards, Aubrey. Thanks for the note, Aubrey. See, I think that a guy like Kolosov, if Erson's healthy, would be better served to develop in the American League. It is more forgiving. It is a better environment for him. And not saying he doesn't deserve or won't earn a call up again this season or get more time with the Flyers. I don't know that you go out. First of all, I don't know who's available. I mean, if you want to go out and go after Elvis Merzlikins, he's got a crazy contract and term. There's not much good out there available. That is a huge upgrade. So if Erson's healthy, how do you do it? I don't know. This is such a huge dilemma for this team. And if he's healthy, can he stay healthy? I don't know. But I don't see going out and signing a Brian Elliott type or trying to acquire a Brian Elliott type. I keep an eye on the waiver wire for sure to see what goalies get put on there. But I got to be mindful of the situation. That Erson's tenuous, his health, that's got to be part of the equation. And the development of Kolosov and Fedotov is part of that as well. Even though Fedotov's 28 years old, there is some development and adjustment, obviously, coming over from the Continental Hockey League. All right, Flyers Stars tonight. Flyers will crank it up. We'll crank it up tomorrow night as well with a little game breakdown and more. So join us then, coming up tomorrow on a brand new Flyers Daily.